Welcome to the Tech and Ed podcast, the only podcast to cover the geek side of ed tech. Welcome, everyone. As you know, my name is Tamer, and I have with me my lovely co-host, Mohammed. And this is episode 7, a mini-sode on some Google admin settings. So welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us. If you are watching, you're noticing that we're doing this virtually for the first time. We missed a week, so we apologize, but we were kind of getting used to trying to do this virtually. We normally do this in our studio, which is in my basement, but with all the social distancing rules, we're being good and we're following them all. So Mo's at his house, I'm up in my room, and we got the show going on here. So welcome to the show. Mo, what's your weekly update, man? How you doing?
We're doing, man. We're kicking and we're doing a lot of stuff. We are distributing Chromebooks to our elementary kids. So our high school and middle school had Chromebooks. Our high school is already familiar with one-to-one. Our middle school had them in school, and we let them. Luckily, we got them to take them home before this happened. And so as we move to the online learning part, we have to get elementary kids Chromebooks. So we're doing a drive-through distribution center. You don't get out of your car. You drive up to one window, you place your order, you go up to that's at McDonald's. Sorry, same concept.
Let me get a Big Mac with a side of Chromebook.
So that was, that's what we did. Got our elementary kids some Chromebooks. How about you, Tamer?
Well, to be honest with you, it was basically a week of just setting up some virtual events. So, part of the challenge of everyone having to social distance is that we can't come together for our normal events that we do throughout our district, our NHS ceremonies, our IHS ceremonies, all those things. So we're getting creative with it. And it's just meeting with all the different people and players for those particular events and figuring out how we can do them virtually. So we basically been coming up with a game plan for that, and we started rolling that out. And then honestly, this is a great time to get those projects done that you've always wanted to get done that you just never had time because you're at your desk. So we started doing some projects now that we're in the full swing of everyone doing virtual learning. We started some projects. So one of the projects I started to work on was Windows Update Server, and getting
WSUS.
Yep, WSUS, which sounds a lot easier than it is, but it's been going good so far. We're still in our testing phase now and trying to make sure that all of our policy settings are good before we roll it out to our entire district and all the computers that we have. And that's basically what I did.
It has WSUS has gotten better actually in the past few revisions.
Okay.
I remember WSUS used to be a pain to set up, and it is a little bit better. So
Yeah, I mean, I always like to review all the TechNet articles and stuff like that on it, and the official guidance from Microsoft and the official recommendations before I just jump into something. And kind of been following that, and it hasn't been too difficult. Like I said, we're just in the testing phase now, and making sure that we are really getting our settings correct. I would hate to push out updates to all my computers and then all of a sudden I'm re-imaging 800 computers because we decided to do something without really testing it. So we're in that phase now, and it's been good. Like I said, we're looking at all different projects that we've wanted to do over time that we just really haven't had time, and so that's kind of been a little bit of a blessing that we were able to kind of do that now, as well as continue to support all the virtual learning that is going on.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, do you want to jump in right into the episode?
Yeah, man. Talk to me. I know, Google admin, right? Google admin settings is what we want to talk about. And I know I have my opinions on some of the admin console and how it functions and how it works. Not to mention that the whole Google G Suite admin console and everything took a major dump a week and a half ago. No one could log on or change any settings for a couple hours. But I know you have some things you want to talk about, so I'll let you go first.
Man, frustration is an understatement. The I mean, if you've been using Google for years now, you already know the pains. Like, I think it was just last summer that they sped up the admin console. But in previous years, do you remember how slow the admin console was? And
Yeah.
this was like not, this was a problem that took them like years to resolve. It wasn't just, oh, yeah, we're working on it. It literally took them years to fix. And that was like years ago. And the settings still don't make sense. It seems like Google has siloed departments working on individual products, and they have zero collaboration between the different products and how they're rolling them out. Because some settings look one way in one area, and some settings look completely different in another area. And the main setting that I want to talk about today is the Google Meet setting, and how frustrated I am with Google Meet and the lack of control. Why can't I be able to control a Google Meet? Why do I have to go and find programs like Zoom or WebEx or whatever it is? Google, I don't want to use other products. I want to use your products, but give me the control. I need to be able to control Google Meetings. Just literally read the K-12 sysadmin Reddit page, and it's like people trying to find workarounds for all these settings. Uh,
So, real quick, I agree with you 100%. By the way, I mean, you know, even little simple little things like if you want to add a user or you want to add a setting into something in one menu, it'll or one screen, you'll have a little plus icon or little fancy add menu where it's like in the bottom corner, and then in a completely different screen, it's like another like yeah, a drop down menu or something that you have to dig for, like how do I add this setting. So yeah, there's definitely some inconsistencies in the user interface for sure.
It's I actually I want to share my screen. I know we have some people just listen to the podcast. For the people who watch the YouTube video, we for Tech and Ed, we actually have Google, so I have access to the Google admin without sharing any information about my district. So I want to show
You're
the
going to
Google
show
ad
our G Suite, right?
our G Suite, yeah, which
Okay.
isn't like heavily configured or anything.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's see, share screen. Uh, Give me one moment here. I have to use another product. So I'll share my Google tab. So, right from this, you go to apps, okay? You go to G Suite Core, and it's is it Hangouts chat? Is it Google Hangouts? Is it Google Meet? Is it, what is it? Well, if you come up here and you do Meet, and now it's under apps, G Suite, Hangouts, Meet, and Google Hangouts. Well, you know what? I don't see that here, right? But if I do this and I go here, it takes me, after many minutes of loading here,
And remember, our G Suite account has like 2, 3 users in it.
right? Oh, okay. So I'm in Google Hangouts. So is this Google Hangouts, or is this Google Meet, or is this Google Hangouts Meet? Like, seriously, decide, because you're confusing the non-technical people. You're confusing technical people who are trying to get in this, and you're confusing anybody who would ever want to use your platform. And then they literally have to become Google experts through trial and error to figure this out. And I've been using Google for years now. So like I kind of understand what Google is trying to do, but why? You're just making it so much more difficult. Let's look at the settings. Telephony, stream, video calling, client logs, default video quality, recording, and interoperability. That's all I get. That's all I get. I can't control who can present. I can mute people, but they can unmute themselves. I can't stop people's video. I can kick people out, but they can come back in. The student issue where students are getting back into the meetings. The fact that a Google Meet never ends. Like, if you create a code and then can rejoin to the meeting after the code, I think Tamer, you brought that up, right? Is it like is the meet does that process never end? You know, what do you just have like servers running with empty processes just waiting
And
for
and the other thing too is like, COPA and SIPA compliancy with that for us, right? So like, how do we monitor that?
you can't.
You can't. That's my point. Like if a teacher's in the room and teachers in the virtual room, and they're having a meeting. Okay, fine. There's an adult, there's a staff member in there. But once that meeting is closed, the fact that kids can come back in now, it could be 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and I don't know of any monitoring service that's able to monitor a Google Meet and what's happening in that meet.
You can't because it's video.
Yep.
So I think any platform really, but the fact that like we want to empower our staff and students with these tools, and you guys are giving us what's a good word? What's a bad?
Subpar.
What's a bad good word?
Subpar.
Subpar. Because I want to say a bad word, but I want to I want to be able to post this. This is messed up, man. This is messed up. I'm so like disappointed. Like, come on, get it
Yeah.
together. This isn't Google.
Yeah.
You have a fantastic collaboration tool. Your Google Classroom is working like crazy, and it's awesome. And then like, who built this?
So, well, there's a couple things I think, and I have my own settings too that I can't stand. One of them is like SAML connected apps, right? So if you're going to do any
Where's
kind
that setting?
so go back to the G Suite. Go back to go
App.
back to apps, like the home. Give me the home screen, my man. All right. Go into apps. I'm doing this from memory, people. And then go into SAML apps. Yep. Okay, so we probably have nothing in here for us. Yeah. Okay, but so this is what I'm talking about. A great example, how you have that add button in the bottom, but on other screens you have it on the top. But here's what's more annoying is, let's just say you went through this process and you added a SAML app or something like that. So, we're going virtual learning. We're trying to bring all of our different platforms online, all different things like that. I'm trying, so we're integrating things sometimes that we didn't even have integrated into Google. Great, phenomenal that I can do all that. I add a SAML app. Now that becomes a service in here. I have no way of renaming the service, which is really annoying because I messed up and I typed the service wrong. I have no way of deleting a service. So I've added a service in here and now I don't want it in here anymore. I just don't want it on this list anymore. I have no way that I was able to find, and I've looked through Google documentation and probably every menu that I can come up with. There's no way to delete the service. You can turn the service off, but you cannot delete the service. So in my scenario, I linked I wanted to have two separate SAML connections for one particular app. I have 5 schools, but only 2 schools are using the program. So I want to name each SAML connection to its corresponding school, and I want to, link it to that school's users. All fine, all possible. But when I was testing, I just named the SAML app what the app was. Now I want to go back and I want to designate, okay, this SAML app is, let's just say for my example, Adobe for middle school, Adobe for high school. So I can't do that. I can't rename the SAML app. Okay, fine. Let's just delete the app and re-add it, right? Can't delete the app. You can only turn off the service. Just one of the many annoyances that I think exist in the Google Admin Console, and just an example with the plus button of how in certain scenarios the plus button is in the bottom, but like if you go to the users, the plus button, there is no plus button. There's an add users button, right? Unless they've changed it.
Let me see.
Yes. So here, add new user.
Oh yeah.
Why is it a button in one location to add an object, but in another location I want to add an object into that location, and it's not an option?
And this is wrong. The last time I signed in wasn't 2 weeks ago because I'm signed in right now.
Another great example of how accurate, and that goes into a whole other thing, right? Is the reporting that comes out of Google Admin Console, right? Like it gives me reports which are fine, but one, I feel like the reports are never accurate, and two, they're not as granular as I need them to be.
No.
So I think there's a lot of work that still needs to go into the Google Admin Console, and I think that part of the problem is that Google does a good job of they have like technology engineering people that figure out like the infrastructure side of things, and then they have like app developers that really spend the time into app developing, and then they have their education team which focuses on like, okay, how can we make this product good for education, and they do things like that. But there's and so that's where you see some of the interesting things, like where they came up with Google Classroom and collaborating documents and things like that with Google Drive, and how you can use that in the education space. But I feel like there's the disconnect is that there's no one at Google looking at it from our perspective, the educational management team, the team that actually now has to go in. We're not talking about the teachers anymore. We're not just talking about the students, and we're not talking about infrastructure stuff. We're talking about just simple administrative management side. I feel like there's no one that's on the Google team that's approaching it from that aspect. I don't know. I don't work for Google. I don't have an insight into Google's structure, but I think
That's what it feels like.
that's what it feels like, is that there's just no one that's advocating for some of the things that we as IT administrators and directors and engineers and people that work in just the management of all this stuff have. A great example of that is, like, how come I can't see what classrooms exist for a particular teacher, or how come I, as an administrator, can't go into those classrooms? So I want to check that my teachers are, doing something, or maybe I want to make that a part of their evaluation, or maybe I just want to see that, that they're
You
utilizing
have to
the
be added as a co-teacher.
I have to be added as the co-teacher, but I'm an administrator. I am an administrator of the G Suite. I own all this data. I am authorized by my district to I should be able to go into a classroom and out of a classroom without any issues. At the very minimum, I should be able to run a report that says said person has these classrooms that they have built. At the very minimum, I want to know that this user, what are the names of the classrooms they have built. That isn't there.
And there's like a number of settings that we can go through, but there's two things that I want to bring up. One is the emulating user, and the other one is e-discovery. For I don't know, whatever reason, I understand Google, sometimes you do things in strange ways, but I should be able to click on a button that allows me to emulate a user. If I need to go into a person's mailbox, or if I need to go into their Google Drive, or if I need to, whatever it is I got to do, why do I have to jump through hoops in order to get this information? If I would need to go through somebody's mailbox, why do I have to go to eDiscovery? And first off, eDiscovery half the time doesn't work in Chrome. I literally have to use Internet Explorer for eDiscovery, which is a Google product. Why? Like, this is like ridiculous. Why am I having to use a Microsoft product? And even in Firefox, I've had issues, and the only browser that it consistently works on is Internet Explorer. And I don't know if that's a specific programming or whatever it is, but literally this pillow's in my way. Literally,
hey,
I'm so like like you want to push your product so much, but then your support is literally telling me to use Internet Explorer to use one of your features.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
What? Are you kidding me? So you're telling me eDiscovery, which is the way that for Oprah requests, for looking up investigations, for having to pull up somebody's mailbox, for having to any of this administrative stuff that I have to do all the time, I have to use Internet Explorer? Like, wow.
And it goes back to, like I said before, I feel like there's no one that's advocating for the management side of things that we're so used to. And I think, like, okay, so on a corporate side, if you're using G Suite, you may not necessarily be looking through a user's mailbox, or but we're dealing with students. So we have a certain obligation to monitor, manage, and watch what students are doing. And we are a government institution, right? Essentially, where we do get those OPRA requests. So if I need to go into someone's mailbox to pull an email because it was OPRA requested, I have to be able to do that. If there's an investigation happening on something, I have to be able to go into that data. Microsoft 365 lets you do it.
Emulate, and it's so easy.
Native Exchange, when you used to have it on on an on-prem exchange, you're able to do that. You're able to go into a user's mailbox. Even things like, okay, so you're pushing cloud storage, drive, and all that stuff. Well, when I had all the files on my file server, I was the admin of my file server, so I had access to all those files. How come as the admin of my G Suite, I don't have access to all the files that are owned by my G Suite users?
Instead, you have to go to their eDiscovery, which doesn't work in Chrome, download their entire drive, and then sort through it.
Yeah, which I was just going to say, which doesn't download their structure.
Oh, I don't think I've done that in a while. So what does it download, file by file?
It just literally gives you all the files. But if they have in their G Suite, if they have it structured, so they have folders and all that stuff, no structure, literally just files.
So this was my little rant on Google.
I kind of joined in on it a little bit there.
I mean, damn, like we like, you need to have a conversation with the people who are pushing Google in the schools, because there it feels like there's a huge disconnect.
Listen, I want to preface this with, if there's anyone out there who is like hearing us and is like, oh no, you can do this, or you can't, let us know, because literally some of these things that we're talking about, I think we both will agree, have literally just been pains that we've had with G Suite and since its implementation. But if there is someone from Google who's listening, and you know what, I am volunteering myself to give you suggestions. I am volunteering myself to give you feedback, to sit on some advisory boards, to some whatever you want to call it. Please work with us and make some of these changes that just make our life easier.
Yeah. And just to put it out there, I know it doesn't mean squat if you've actually taken the test, but Tamer and I are both G Suite administrators certified. Do you also have your educator certificate?
So I actually I'm gonna be actually taking that test in the next couple of days, the
Cool.
educator level 1.
And you'll probably pass it, like, without even studying. So you have people here, certified educator level 1, level 2, certified admins who have been using the products for years. Like, we are willing to sit down and go through this civil. You might hear it from me a little bit, like just at the beginning, but then we can have a nice civilized conversation. And like, it just seems so inconsistent. It seems like you are outsourcing it, one company for one product and another company to another product, and then you have like one team just kind of mashing it all together.
So I feel like I feel like exactly what you said. I feel like, let's say Google Classroom, you have your Google Classroom guys who are just doing whatever they want, and then you may have like your Google Groups team, which is focused on Google's Groups, doing whatever they want, and then they kind of just bring their apps, like some Google dashboard guy who just like, all right, I'll add your icon. Add your icon. But there's no discussion. I feel like there's nothing that bridges all the stuff and makes it all, native work together, and it is frustrating. It is frustrating because, we're bouncing in and out of different products throughout the day, different, trying to manage different settings. And now that the reliance of it is becoming even more with all the virtual learning that's happening, we're finding ourselves in those positions where we're having to do more management. And
and we're the ones pushing the Google products. We are the ones pushing Google products.
Oh yeah.
We are the ones who are pushing it in the districts. There's no one else who's pushing your product like we are. And the same to all of our, you know, um, uh, people in the other districts. Same thing to all of our other peers. They're the ones who are pushing all of the Google products. Like,
I mean, no, you're right. You're 100% right. Every time someone comes to me with a problem or a situation, my first thought is, how can we do this with our Google products? Even when we had to start doing virtual meetings, one of the, literally, um, we had a discussion around, using the product that we're using now. But before we started using I'm going to say we're using Zoom. So,
yeah,
before we started using Zoom, I literally said, how can we do this with Google Hangouts? How can we? And we tried it. We really did. We gave it a genuine try. We got a couple kids, we got a couple teachers, and it was so feature lacking for us. We were like, okay, we can't rely on this, and that's where it makes it difficult for us, because we want to push Google. I think that's the other part of this, is we want this to be successful. We want this to work. We want this to be the platform, because in general, the concept, the idea, and a lot of the products that are out there are really good as individual products. I think Google Drive is really great in that you can have different users collaborating live on one document. I think that's, Google Docs. I think that's phenomenal. I think Google Drive, that you can access your files from any device anywhere in the world at any time without having to VPN into something. I think that's phenomenal. I think all those are at core great features, great ideas. But when you start bringing all these things together, there's definitely a severe disconnect, and it's where our frustrations start to build.
I couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it any better. So, do we have any other topics or anything to bring up, or should we? Are we?
I think honestly, no. I think I don't want to. This was our first virtual podcast, right? Being in two locations at once, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Let us know too, if you're watching this on YouTube, what you thought of our first virtual podcast and how we sounded. But I mean, I think for our first virtual one, let's keep it light and see how this works out for us.
Yeah, I got my HyperX Cloud 2s, my favorite headphones. Amazing.
I don't
It's
have
like they're like almost 3 years old now, and they're still great. So
I was trying to use my Turtle. Did my Xbox shut off while I was downloading? I'm so annoyed. I'm downloading a game to my Xbox. I'm not sure what. But yeah, no, I had my Turtle Beach.
oh, those are good.
Yeah, they're the elite ones.
Elite.
The Atlas Elite. They're not bad. They're not anything special, but they're not terrible either. I use it on my Xbox, but and I know I can use it on my PC, but my MacBook here was just not having it. There's something with the connection. The headphone port is not picking up the microphone, and so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna use my my good old fashioned
integrated
microphone. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I said, our first one. Let's see how it turns out, right?
Let's see. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. And remember, you can find this podcast. We'll be back on our regular schedule on all major platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all the social medias. And if you want to take a look at some old episodes, please feel free to go to www.techandedmedia.com, as well as following our podcast on all the platforms: Apple, iHeartRadio, Google. We're on everything now. So thanks again, everyone, and stay safe and stay healthy.